Okay, in your folders you should have practice exam, Excel practice exam 1. That's what I'm going to go through today. So inside there it gives you a brief explanation of what you're going to do. This is the scenario. The Manta construction project has regional offices which collect money from research grants, donations and the sale of education packs. The project headquarters are in Brazil. You will use efficient methods to calculate and summarize the income for 1 week in a spreadsheet. Okay. Using a suitable software package, load the file J1431income.csv. As you can see, it's already mentioned the word spreadsheet, so we know that we're going to use an Excel file. I'm going to change the view so we can see some white space there. This is just explaining in detail that the file that we want, income, is a comma separated value file. If I try to open it directly, when I open the file, you'll see that the values are not separated. So what I have to do is create a new Excel worksheet. If you want, you can call it exam practice 1, and then inside there we can then load the file that we want. So as in the booklet, we do the same. We click on data from text and then we find the text file. Yours would be desktop and then students. Mine's desktop and will, and inside there's income. It asks us on the first step if it is delimited. It is delimited. It's delimited by a comma. We click next. When we select comma, you'll see that it separates the values underneath. Click next and then finish. It then asks us where we want our data to be imported. We import the data in the top left into A1 and click OK, and you will then see that you have all of the data there. So the first part of the task is done. In the left of the header, add the text week 1, and on the right of the header, add the text last edited by followed by your name. So insert header and footer. In the left we're going to put week 4, yep, and then inside the right hand side, last edited by, and then by your name. Okay, on the left in the footer you add your name, add the centre number and candidate number, and on the right in the footer add the text last edited on followed by today's date, and the text at and then the time. Okay, so in the footer we'll swap between the header and the footer using this icon here, and inside here we'll put the centre number, which is ES for España, and we're just going to put 000, and then your CN number, which is your candidate number, and then whatever number you are. Okay, 000 for me because I haven't got a candidate number. Okay, then in the right of the footer we need to add last edited on followed by today's date, and then at, and then followed by the time. So in here I will put last edited on followed by today's date, and today's date is the 4th of the 4th 2016. Then the text at, and then the time, and the time for me at this current moment in time is 11:55. okay, you can't change the view on this until we click out of that box. So down at the bottom left hand corner where we can change the views, it will not let us change it until we finish editing here. So I click anywhere outside of here and then click on back onto normal view. Your name and the details have not disappeared, it's just you can't see them because it's not in print preview. So we click back onto normal view and then keep following the instructions. Okay, Merge cells A1 to E1 so they become a single cell, and format this text so it is white 24 point sans serif font, and format the cell so it has a dark grey background, and center align the contents of this cell. Okay, so A to E1, merge and center, so we don't have to then re-center it. Change the font color to white, change it to the background color to dark grey, change it to sans serif. Now there's a difference between a serif font and a sans serif font. A sans serif font, as you can see when I find a font that's actually called sans serif, it does not have curly edges. Okay, so when we have a look at the different fonts, this should have been explained earlier on. Well, we have the likes of this one where you can see the fonts have curly edges at the end. They are serif fonts. Sans without have not got the curly edges. Okay, see the F in that, where we have little curls at the end of the D. That's a serif font. A sans serif font has not got them. Okay, that's only the difference between the two. Next, number 5, format the cells C11 to C16 to 3 decimal places. Okay, now you can see that the text is aligned over to the left on here because it thinks that it is it thinks that these are text rather than numbers. So I'm going to right click on those cells, format the cells to a number, and then to 3 decimal places. Okay, you'll still see that this aligns over to the left rather than over to the right. So I'm just going to put a comma in there now, and then it's aligned it to the right. Okay, comma, and this one a comma. Now when we've formatted them to 3 decimal places, it's put 3 decimal places at the end of there, and it ignored where the decimal place should have been at the beginning. So we're going to go back, and that's where the decimal should be there, 248. Not when we go to 3 decimal places. You can do the same using this here. The reason why we get a sound is because it doesn't recognize these as a value, and it recognizes them in text. So we'll format the cells. They're a number and then 3 decimal places. Now watch what happens to that one when it should be separated by there. Okay, so it actually should be there, 2,4, and this one the same, 2, these ones will change the full stop to commas, and that's set up our database to be our Excel spreadsheet to be right. Okay, so we've done that step. In cell E11, use a function to calculate the regional income from Africa for the week. Use absolute and relative cell references. Do not use a name range. Okay, so this is just E11. So E11, we need to look up in this array here. We need to find where it says AF, and then we need to add that. Now you can see there's a number of cells that align to the left. That is because it thinks it is text rather than a value. The value will automatically align to the right. This is because it was a regional setup rather than being set up for Spain. Okay, so I need to add those up if that equals EF. So the best function to use in this particular case is sum if. It's going to sum those if that equals AF. Okay, so the easiest way to do it is to use the actual function builder itself. So if I click on there, type in sum if, and then go, double click on sum if, and now I can start the function builder. Here's the range. Okay, so where am I looking for sum if? Oh, sorry, where am I looking for my value? So I want to look at it in here. Okay, so that's where it's going to look for it. What am I looking for? Well, I am looking for AF. So I'm looking for the AF code. And then the sum range. What do I want it to add up? I want it to add up those if it equals AF. Now it says that we need to use absolute cell referencing. If I drag this down afterwards, then those numbers in there will change. It'll go from B11 to B12, D12 to D20, and D39 to D40. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that each one's absolute. You can put the dollar sign before each column letter and each row number, but it's easier if we just click in between them and push the F4 key on your keyboard, and it will make them absolute. Okay, so they're absolute. That's relative. It means relative because when we drag it down, when we drag this down like so, you can see that the changes between that formula and that formula is only this cell here, B11 and B12. That's because it's relative to that one. It relates to the one previous by incrementing it by 1. Okay, so that's all of those done. Okay, next cell. Oh, I need to format the cell to South African Rand in 2 decimal places. Now there's a number of people last week put SAR. SAR is not South African Rand, it's a South Asian Rand, or the South Asian Real. So I need to click in this little drop down box, find more account options, and then in the currency we need to find the South African Rand. Now the South African Rand is just an S, so I'm going to go down until I can find just the letter S, and then next to it it's got Afrikaans. Okay, it might take a while to find them, but this is the only way to do it. Okay, so search as you go down till you find the letter S for South African Rand. Okay, not S, R, sorry. It's R for South Africa, or English South Africa. That's the code for South Africa. Click OK. Now obviously these ones are different. So we're now down to replicate this formula for region cell E2 to E16. I showed you how to do that. Format the cells E2 to E16 in the correct currency for each region. You may use the internet or electronic encyclopedia to identify the number of decimal places for each currency. Okay, so let's go through this. So the Asia is the yuan. So click in the currency icon, and there's the Chinese one there. If it's not there, click on more accounting formats, currency, and then as you scroll down you should be able to find the Chinese symbol for the yuan. Okay, that's the Chinese dollar, and as you go down you should be able to find it. Okay, Chinese, it says PRC, but that is the actual symbol for the yuan. Okay, Australasia, that's the Australian dollar. So as we go down here, we can click more, format accounts, click on currency again, and then scroll down until we find the dollar sign, and then you'll see all the countries that have the dollar, and at the top we have Australia. Click OK. The euro, that should be fairly simple. Euro. North America is a dollar. Click in the drop down box and we should have the US dollar, and the back one SA, and the bottom one South America. And because this is the Portuguese, the real, if we click in here, more accounts, it should be accounting, and then we will scroll down until we find the R, and then you will see that it says it's R dollar or dollar R. Let's have a look till we find it. This is a bit of a long-winded process to find these at first, but it has to be done. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. I'm using just the up and down keys to find these. Okay, so there we are. We have the R dollar, which is the Brazilian or the South American real. click OK, and now we can see we have the symbols before each of our values. Okay, that should be formatted. Format cells, make sure that they are currency. Yep. Okay, and next part, using the cells B11 to B16. Okay, we have to name in cell E19, use a name range rate to calculate the income Brazil. Before that, we have to make sure that we have used the cells B16 to B11 to C16 to create a range called rate. Okay, so inside here from B11 down to C16, we're going to right click and then define a name, and we're going to call this rate. Now in the income reel, we're going to use a VLOOKUP. So if I click on the function builder, if VLOOKUP isn't in the box below, type it in here and then click go until it appears underneath. If I double click on that, I can then start to build my function. My arguments are look for a F in this array. Okay, so I'm going to look for that in there, find the exchange rate, and then times it by how much we've actually received. So the table array, if I select that, I could select it, and you can see that it automatically says rate there, and we should have rate in the table array. This column index number, this refers to what column in this array are we looking at for the value. Now it's in column number 2. The last argument in this is the logical. The logical is either true or false. So it's saying, is this exact or not? Well, we want it to be exact. We're just going to click OK. So we'll put true and then click OK. That means if you put AS or AF, it's not going to make an error and then look up a different array. I now have to format this. So I have to format this cell to Brazilian real. Now because we already have that one in Brazilian real, I can use the format paintbrush there and then click on that cell to turn it into Brazilian real formatted. Once I have that true, I now need to edit this, so we times it by the amount and then push enter. I now have the right amount in this cell. To copy this down, I click in the cell and use the fill handle to drag it right down to the bottom, and we have the amount of money that we should have in those particular cells. Okay, in cell E40, calculate the total income for the week. Okay, so E40, the total income for the week, I should have dragged that one down as well, will be quite easy. We can put a label in there, total, and the total income for this particular week would just simply be clicking on the auto sum feature. Click on sum, push enter, and we have our value there. In cell C5 to C7, calculate the total income in Brazil real for each income type and format these cells appropriately. Okay, so for each income type we need to have a look at this code and then sum if it equals that code. So it's as simple as we did before. We use here the sum if function, and the range is going to be down here. Okay, select all of these, and we need to look up the criteria is that, because we're going to look up D in this column, and the column that we're going to sum if that one equals D is in here. So I'm going to select all of them in that column. Now when we go back to that, because we're going to replicate this down, the only cell that shouldn't change is that B5. So that cell should remain relative, which means we don't make it absolute. So that's going to be absolute by pushing F4 on the function keys at the top of the keyboard, and then we click OK. Now that's the total income, and that's all of those added together. I'm going to change it, I'm going to format it to Brazilian Real, and then I can copy that down. Okay, so that's our total income for each of those codes. Okay, the next question. Save and print the spreadsheet showing the values. All you have to do, in the exam you would do this obviously, but in this one you just have to have a look to see if the formulas are right. So we click on show formulas and you can have a look through to make sure that they're right. Absolute cell referencing and that's relative cell referencing. Okay, undo show formulas, and then let's go on to the next one. Print the spreadsheet in landscape orientation. We should know how to do the page setup. Page layout, orientation, landscape. And then when we go into the print preview, we should see it looks different as if we had it on portrait. File, print. There's a portrait, page layout, orientation, landscape, file, print, and then you'll see how it's changed that way. Also, when the formula view, you should see your formulas look a little bit different as if they were in landscape rather than in portrait. It says 4 pages there, and there are the 4 pages that it would print. When we close it, when we close a print preview and then we take that off, when we see these little lines, these dotted lines, all those indicate is where the page is going to be printed. Okay, the next question. Create a label chart to compare the percentage of the real income for each region. Okay, so there's the income for each region. We need to compare them and create a chart. Okay, so this should be quite easy to do. Okay, I'm going to, is it the total income or regional income? Create and label a chart to compare the income in real for each region. Okay, so that's the income for each region. Okay, that's a regional analysis, so it's this one. So I'm going to select those cells. I'm going to select insert, and then because we're going to do percentage, a pie chart will be the best chart to actually insert. I know a lot of you might not have done charts before, so I'll go through a simple chart and how to create one. First of all, we're going to select the data because we haven't got anything here to indicate what those actually mean, what those values mean. So we're going to edit the category access labels, and in here for the regions we can select those regions. So if I select those regions, and then we can see it updates the table. Also we need to have, we click OK there, we need to have a chart. We need to have a title at the top. When we click on the layout, we can select chart title and then above the chart. We don't want to overlay it, we'll put above. So in here we can put, and we've got here, create a label chart to compare the percentage of income. Okay, percentage of income. That seems like an appropriate title. And on the chart now we can make sure that we show the labels. So we right click on there and add the data labels. Now currently they're set and you can't see the percentages, but if I right click on them and then format the data labels series, or format the data labels first, and then make sure that percentage is shown, I can take off value and just have them as percentage, and which is exactly what it says. It says that we need to create and label a chart to compare the percentage of the income in real for each region. So we've now got the percentage of the income. You can put the value, it's in real, and you have the percentage on. We click close, and that's our chart. Our chart then can be copied, so we can copy the chart, and if we want we can paste it into our evidence document, as simple as that. Okay, and I think we've covered about everything. Please copy this chart, the evidence, save and exit. Okay, well there you go children, and whoa, unless I forget, there's a random picture of a football management game. Well done all.